This is Del K. Brereton, and this is The Real Spiel. Jonathan Greenblatt, the ADL, the great myth. Jonathan Greenblatt, the ADL, the great myth. Jonathan Greenblatt, as many who know, is the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. The Anti-Defamation League is a Jewish organization tasked to spy out anti-Semitism in America, and also postures itself as a civil rights organization intent on eliminating hate everywhere in all cultures and ethnicities. That is the great myth. The great myth. The ADL are an extension of the FBI. In fact, what I really should say is the FBI is now an extension of the ADL. The FBI is an extension of the ADL. The ADL is not an extension only of the FBI. That would be saying a lot. But the FBI is an extension, is an addendum to the ADL. The ADL trains the FBI. Did you hear what I said? The ADL trains FBI agents, thousands per year. The head of the FBI, James Comey, thanked the ADL for their training of FBI agents. They basically notify the FBI. They have agents. They're called agents who notify the FBI of anti-terrorism threats to them, to the converted Jewish community in America. So, the great myth of the ADL is that the white Jewish convert of America makes up 2% of the American population. However, their opinion, with their own statistics that are uncorroborated, of course, is that 40% of all religious hate crime is targeted at them. The white Jewish convert community makes up 2% of America, and their opinion, their statistics that have been created by themselves, is that 40% of all religious crime is targeted at the Jewish convert, the Ashkenazi Jewish convert in America. Now, this is why I say this is made up information, this is a myth, and why Jonathan Greenblatt, the Grand Inquisitor himself, the Wizard of Jewish Wall Street, and the CEO of the ADL, is really the wizard of lies. When you take into account the systemic racial bias that has been built against the African diaspora, the Afro-Semitic community in America, built in this way by police violence, by hundreds of years of the absenteeism of true civil rights, of Jim Crow laws, of black codes, of modern day glass ceilings and shutouts and lack of access, that still affect and echo in the economic pocket, echo in the corporate reach, the political ascent and prowess of the everyday person in America of ethnicity, of black ethnicity, who also relies on their identity in a religious faction, whether they be Christian, whether they be Jewish, whether they be Muslim. But when you group all of those individuals together, and we know that there's approximately 35 million black people, for lack of a better term, in America, and the predominance of systemic crime, of police profiling, of jailing and criminalizing, the war on drugs, and going all the way back to the Tuskegee experiments. There has been no one group of people who have been targeted period. And when they were blowing up churches in Alabama, when Dylan Ruff was killing people in the AME church just a few years ago, the positional attack against black people of faith, against black people of conscience in America, there is no leg to stand on. There is no fictional narrative that could be created that positions the converted white Jew as being the number one source or victim of religious crime. That is a fictional statement created by individuals who need to continue two narratives. Narrative number one is that the white converted Jew is the original person of the book. That narrative needs to be continued in order for them to maintain their hold on the world's imagination, because that's what white Jewishness is. It is an imaginary thing. Historical white Jewishness is imaginary. What is true is modern day Jewishness is white, but historical Jewishness of antiquity is imaginary if you consider it to be white, because it wasn't. Okay? But they need that to maintain itself in order to keep their political stronghold and their vested interest in what they have acquired since 1948 and on in respect to the state of Israel and the world allowing them to consider themselves as the people of the book. So that's number one. They have to keep that dialogue open. They have to keep that mindset going. Number two is there's no religious group in America that has more power than the white convert Jew. There is no religious group in America. There is no religious group in America. There is no religious group in America. Not the white Protestant, not the Muslim, not the Black Baptist Pentecostal, not the ancient faith believer, but there is no single religious group, not the Hindu, not the Buddhist, no single religious group in America that has more power than the white convert Jew. That is undeniable, and it can be sought out in one organization only, and we don't have to look further, but there's more. You don't have to look any further than the ADL. You don't have to look any further than the ADL to know that there is no religious group identifying itself as a religion that has more power than the Jewish community in America. You need look no further than the ADL. As mentioned, there is no other religious organization in America that trains the Federal Bureau of Investigation how to task out enforcement on their own behalf. No other group, no other religious organization can say they can pick up the phone and not just activate the FBI, but can step in and train the FBI. There is no religious group that has a connection to the White House, the Senate, Congress, to the political structures of America like the ADL. No group. And therefore, we have to consider the ADL to be one of three things. It is either a religious organization, it is either a domestic agent for Israel, or they are a domestic spy organization. If they are not a domestic agent for Israel, if they are not a domestic spy organization, then they are a religious group, an activist religious group making lobby on behest of those that believe in their same religious position. The ADL, again, positions itself as a civil rights activist group, yet has no record, no verifiable, no historical record of becoming an activist group in lobby form for the black community in any way, shape, and form. No record. In fact, what they do have a record for is positioning black religious organizations as hate groups. They do have in fact, it's on their website. You can read it for yourself. So when we put all these things together, Jonathan Greenblatt, the Grand Inquisitor, the CEO of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, an organization started to release, for the purposes of releasing a pedophile murderer. That was the purpose of that was the foundation of their organization, which successfully had his conviction overturned post-mortem. A pedophile murderer murdered a little girl after he raped her, and he was lynched, and they got his conviction overturned because they said that the state of Georgia should have protected him better. This is the organization that is the ADL. And this is who Jonathan Greenblatt represents and purports himself to be. The Jewish community must disassociate itself from that organization to become a credible part of the true civil rights movement, of which Jewish people participated in from King, the 60s, and on. They must disassociate themselves from this domestic spy organization that that postures itself as a civil rights organization on behalf of all people. Jonathan Greenblatt says this. He doesn't believe in cancel culture. He does not believe in cancel culture. He believes in counsel culture. But the question is, if he believes in counsel culture, will he take the counsel of the black community and take black faith groups off of their list? Will he take the counsel of the black community and position black people in positions of power in the ADL to advocate for things on behest of black people, because the ADL has an inroad with the FBI? Will Jonathan Greenblatt, with the assistance of his subordinate organization, the FBI, position an anti-black task force or a task force intent on targeting anti-black rhetoric, racism, and terrorism in America? Will he position the ADL with a black committee and black people in charge of that? Will he position that so that he can actually call himself a civil rights organizer? And will he stop saying, and final, that the 2% converted Jewish white settlers who have now become Jews through conversion are the largest group of individuals targeted for religious crime in America? Will he speak the truth and articulate what statistics already know, is that there is one public enemy number one in America, that there's always been one marginalized person in America who's always carried this, he's got the same face, he has the same stigma, he is the black man in America. He is the black man in America. And by relationship, his woman and his children, his neighborhoods are all pseudo targets of any organization and any mindset that is intent on keeping black people in a marginalized, irrelevant position, of which the ADL does nothing to help. Their entire effort is a Zionist effort to assist themselves in making sure that they have power with America, and that they have the capacity to not just deal with finances, because we know they don't need that, but to deal with the American might. That American might will go anywhere in the world to rescue the Jewish people from oppression. This is Del K. Burton. This is The Real Spiel. Jonathan Greenblatt, I haven't forgotten about you, brother. But you need to tell the truth. You need to speak the truth. Jonathan Greenblatt, the ADL, and the myth dispelled. 16 minutes. It's Del K. Burton. This is The Real Spiel. Like, share, and remember, we living in the dope world, baby. Discovering our people's ethnicity. We know who the Hebrew is. We know who the convert is. Let's stop telling lies. All right.